Hey guys, welcome back. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use output parameter in a stored procedure in SQL. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select from this table employees and I'm going to start creating like a simple stored procedure. So I'm just going to say create procedure and then my procedure name, let's just call it get emp. And then I'm going to say begin and end. This is where I'm going to write the code for my stored procedure, and here I'm going to pass some input parameters. So I'm just going to say add, and I'm just going to say add id, and the data type is integer. And then here I'm just going to select from my employees table and just a few columns. So let's just select the first name, last name, and then maybe salary. And then here I'm gonna pass that input parameter which I declared in the store procedure, so at id. So here I'm gonna say where the employee id is equal to the input parameter that I'm passing, which is at id. So whatever id I pass here in my input parameter is gonna return the result set for that employee id only. And then here I just have to say as. So I'm creating a stored procedure with this input parameter. So this is input parameter, and then all of this is my code for that. So I'm gonna say as between begin and end, I'm gonna pass my query for that. And now here I'm gonna also declare another variable. So let me just call it count, and it's of type int. And this time this is not an input parameter, this is my output parameter. So I'm gonna call it my output parameter. So this is the syntax for it. So I have my variable name, so here it is just count, my data type which is integer, and then output. So I'm saying like this is an output parameter, it's not an input parameter. So this is my output parameter. And then I'm gonna leave my code as is, but I'm also gonna return something else here using my output parameter. So what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna say select at count. What is my output parameter? Let's just say it's the number of records in that table. So I'm gonna do like a small subquery here, and then I'm gonna say select count star from employees. So I'm passing the count of employees, like the count of records in the employees table, and I'm assigning it to that output parameter at count. Okay, so this is how you use it. So you can have multiple input and multiple output parameters. So here I just have one input parameter and one output parameter, and the first query is using my input parameter, and then I have another query here where I am setting a value for my output parameter, and this value is actually set inside of your stored procedure and passed to your output parameter. So this is how you use it, and I am just gonna create it now. Created successfully. Now to call it, this is how you call it in the stored procedure. So I'm just gonna say execute my stored procedure, which is get employee, and then here it's telling you like you have one input parameter and you have one output parameter. It is saying that. So my input parameter, let me just select from this table so I can pass the right value. So employee ID, let's say I want to find it for Jeremy, which is employee ID 3. So I'm just gonna say 3. If I run it as is, it's gonna error out because I'm not passing the value for my output parameter. So this is how you pass it. It is not as straightforward as using input parameter. So I just can't do at cnt here and get the value. It's not going to return the expected results. So this is how you use it. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to declare a variable to hold that value. So I'm going to say declare, let's just call it counter, and then the data type. So here I am gonna declare a variable to hold my output value that is being passed from my stored procedure. And then here I'm gonna say at cnt, which is my output parameter, is equal to the variable I just set, which is at counter. And I also have to say this is output, out or output. both are gonna work. So I'm gonna say output. So I'm gonna say this count, that is the output parameter, is being passed to this variable that I just declared. This is the syntax for it, so it's not that straightforward. So here is where I store the output value. And finally, I can just select it. So I can print it or just select it. So I'm gonna say select my variable that I just declared here. So now if I execute it, I get the value for my first query where I passed the input parameter as 3, which was Jeremy Garcia. So I'm getting the results from my employee table for that employee. So I'm getting it for here for Jeremy Garcia. I'm getting 2 records for this employee, and I am also getting another output which is showing me the count of all the records in that table, which is the value of my output parameter, which is the number of records. So I'm getting 2 things here. I'm getting the result of my first query here, and then I'm also getting the result of my output parameter. So output parameters can be really useful if you want to pass a value directly to the calling program. Let's say if it's an application or something where you can directly assign a value to that output parameter, making it really easy for your program to use it as a variable or as a value. If you found this helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for watching.